Have you ever thought about how a single day can change, well, everything? We're about to dive into one of those days. A day with a battle that didn't just decide who got a crown, but actually changed the words you and I are using right this second. It's an incredible story.
Okay, so picture this. The date is October 14th, 1066. We're standing on a hill near Hastings in England. The air is crisp, it's fall, and two gigantic armies are staring each other down, ready to fight for the future of an entire kingdom. But this isn't just a story about swords and strategy. No, the really wild part, the question we're going to unpack, is this. How on earth did this one single, brutal battle completely transform the English language? Seriously, the answer is pretty mind-blowing. So, why all the fuss? Well, as it so often does, it all boiled down to power. You had two incredibly powerful men who both believed down to their bones that they were the one true king of England. And, there's only one throne. So let's meet our main players. In one corner, you've got Harold. He's the king of England, defending his home turf. And in the other corner, William, the powerful Duke of Normandy over in France, who's invaded to take what he says is his. Both guys were 100% convinced they were right. This was going to be a winner-take-all situation for sure. And it wasn't just the leaders who were different. The armies they brought to this fight were like night and day. We're talking about a serious clash of military styles, and that difference was going to be absolutely crucial. All right, let's look at the stats. The Normans, down at the bottom of the hill, had the numbers, maybe 10,000 guys. And they were well-equipped with archers and, most importantly, thousands of armored knights on horseback. The English had fewer men, around 7,000, mostly just foot soldiers with axes and spears. But, and this is a huge but, they had the high ground. They were sitting right on top of Senlac Hill. Now here's the thing that's just incredible. The English army was exhausted. Why? Because they had just marched 200 miles south, right after fighting and winning another huge battle against Vikings in the north. So yeah, they were tough, but they were running on fumes. So you're probably wondering, how could this tired army possibly stand a chance? Well, they had an amazing tactic called the shield wall. Just imagine it. Soldiers packed shoulder to shoulder, their shields locked together, creating this solid, almost unbreakable barrier of wood and steel. From the top of the hill, it was like a fortress. And for hours, it worked. The Norman knights charged and the shield wall held. The battle was a brutal, grinding stalemate. But then, the tide turned. Not with a massive charge, but with a clever trick, and one single fatal mistake. So here's what the Normans did. William had his knights charge up the hill, get pushed back, and then pretend to run away in a panic. It was a fake retreat. They did this a few times, and finally, some of the English soldiers fell for it. Thinking they had the Normans on the run, they broke formation and charged down the hill after them. And that was the moment. That was the mistake. The discipline that had saved them all day just cracked. By chasing the knights, they left gaps in that once perfect shield wall, and that was the exact opening William had been waiting for. Once that wall was broken, it was all over. The Norman knights swarmed through the gaps. In the chaos, King Harold himself was killed. After 8 straight hours of brutal fighting, the battle was done. William and his Normans had won. But here's the thing. Winning the battle was just step one. Now, William had to actually take control of a whole country, and he was not about to mess around. William moved fast. He marched his army straight for London, but instead of a direct attack, he just started burning all the villages around the city. It was a brutal but effective move. The English lords, seeing the destruction, surrendered to stop it. And just 2 months later, on Christmas Day of 1066, William was crowned the new King of England. And from that moment on, history gave him a new name, one he definitely earned: William the Conqueror. William wasn't just a great general, he was also a brilliant manager. About 20 years later, he ordered this massive survey of his new kingdom. The result was called the Domesday Book. It was basically a giant spreadsheet of everything and everyone in England, who owned what, how many pigs they had, everything. All so William knew exactly how much tax he could squeeze out of them. Talk about an exercise in control. Okay, so all of this brings us back to our big, weird question. We've seen how the battle changed who was in charge.
But the most shocking legacy, the one that affects you every single day, is in the words you speak. See, before 1066, the English spoke a language called Anglo-Saxon or Old English. It was a Germanic language. I mean, some words kind of sound familiar, like apple is apple and motor is mother, but for the most part, it's a totally different language. But after William I, this whole new ruling class came in and they all spoke French. So overnight, Norman French became the language of power, of the government, the courts, the whole upper crust. For a long, long time, you had two languages in England, French for the rich and powerful, and Old English for everybody else. And what happens when two languages live side by side like that for centuries? Well, they smush together, they blend, and that's exactly what happened. Old English and Norman French merged into something brand new, what we now call Middle English. It was a hybrid, a mashup, and it's the direct ancestor of the modern English we all speak today. So that leaves us with this one last kind of crazy thought to chew on. It all goes back to that one single moment on that hill. If those English soldiers hadn't broken the shield wall, if King Harold had won, what language would you and I be speaking right now? It almost certainly wouldn't be this one. Kind of makes you think, right?